Hello everyone, good morning, afternoon, whatever time you're seeing this. My name is Africia. I'm from Tutoring, where I'm the chemistry tutor. So today we're going through 15 multiple choice questions. Let's get into it. Okay. So the first question is, one property of ionic compounds is that they either A, contain molecules, B, are solids and vaporize easily, C, usually dissolve in organic solvents, D, conduct electricity when molten or dissolved in water. The answer is D. And compounds do conduct electricity when molten or dissolved in water, because then you have free electrons that will be able to conduct the electricity. Number two, which are the following processes does not provide evidence in support of the particular nature of matter? The answer is C, filtration, because osmosis, diffusion, and Brownian motion do in fact provide evidence to support the particular nature of matter. All right, so we have question 3. Sulfuric acid is a stronger acid than ethanoic acid, or otherwise known as acetic acid, in aqueous solution, because sulfuric acid is A, more corrosive than ethanoic acid, B, is more concentrated than ethanoic acid, C, ionized to a greater extent than ethanoic acid, or D, cause sugar to char, whereas ethanoic acid does not. The answer is C, it ionizes to a greater extent than ethanoic acid. 4, isotopes of an element contain, is it A, different numbers of protons, B, the same number of neutrons, C, the same number of electrons as neutrons, D, the same number of protons as electrons? The answer is D, the same number of protons as electrons, because isotopes are elements that have the same proton number but different mass number. And the only answer that is reflecting that is D. So we move on to question 5. What mass of oxygen atoms contain the same number of moles as 112 grams of sulfur atoms? So the relative atomic mass of oxygen is 16 and the relative atomic mass of sulfur is 32. For this question, I wish I could give you a visual representation. However, I'm going to tell you how you will arrive at the answer. So first, you will have to find the number of moles in 112 grams of sulfur atoms. So to do that, you will divide the mass number, which is 112, by the molar mass of sulfur, which is 32 grams per mole. So you would have 112 grams divided by 32 grams per mole, which is equal to 3.5 mole. And then we will proceed to find the mass of oxygen atoms. Then we will proceed to find the mass of oxygen atoms that contain the same number of moles as 112 grams of sulfur atoms. So we will times the molar mass of oxygen by the mole, which we obtained earlier, which was 3.5. So we would multiply 16 grams per mole, that is the molar mass of oxygen, by 3.5 moles, which will be equivalent to 56 grams. So the answer is C. The mass of oxygen atoms that contains the same number of moles as 112 grams of sulfur atoms is 56 grams. Moving on to question 6. Two solutions are to be mixed in order to demonstrate endothermic change. Which of the following techniques would be most appropriate? Taking mass readings, taking temperature readings, monitoring the pH of the solution, carefully observing color changes. So the most appropriate technique would be taking the temperature readings. Yes. So you can take the temperature before they were mixed, and then take the temperature after they were mixed, and then the difference in temperature will let you know the endothermic change that occurred. Question 7. Ethanoic acid reacts with ethanol to form an ester and water. How many moles of ethanoic acid are required to produce 0.5 mole of ester? So for this question, it is best to write out the equation for the reaction. So you would have ethanoic acid reacting with ethanol to form the ester and water. So it would be CH3COOH reacting with C2H5OH, which will give CH3COO, C2H5, and water. So the ester that is formed is ethyl ethanoate. Yes, that's the name of the ester that is formed. Based on the reaction, you will realize that each substance is reacting with a 1-to-1 mole ratio. So it takes 1 mole of ethanoic acid combining with 1 mole of ethanol to give 1 mole of ethyl ethanoate and 1 mole of water. So it will take the same amount of moles of ethanoic acid to produce the same amount of moles of ester. In other words, the same amount of moles of ester that are produced is the same amount of ethanoic acid that is required to produce that said amount. So the answer is 0.5. Moving on to question 8. Which of the following halogens is a liquid at room temperature? The answer is bromine. Yes, bromine is a liquid at room temperature. Moving on, which of the following is an acid? Is an acid salt, sorry. The answer is A, sodium bisulfate. Yes, sodium bisulfate. Moving on, which of the following products would be produced by the electrolysis of dilute sulfuric acid? The answer is A. So this is because in the electrolysis of dilute sulfuric acid, the ions that are present is the H+ ions and the OH from the water, and from the sulfuric acid is the H+ ions and the sulfate ion. And the negative ions will be attracted to the anode and the positive ions will be attracted to the cathode. The positive ions being the H+ and the negative ions being the hydroxide ions and these sulfate ion. However, the hydroxyl ions will be preferentially discharged because they are low in the electrochemical series of ions. So the reaction at the anode will be 4 hydroxide ions to produce 2 moles of water, oxygen gas, plus 4 electrons. So oxygen gas will be given up at the anode, and at the cathode, the H plus ions are discharged, and the reaction is 2 H plus ions. They lose 2 electrons to produce hydrogen gas. So at the cathode, hydrogen gas is being discharged. Question 11. When a piece of magnesium ribbon is burnt in air, magnesium oxide is formed. The magnesium oxide is then placed in water and tested with litmus solution, which turns blue. The above experiment shows that magnesium oxide is basic. Yes, when litmus turns blue, it's shown that whatever substance is being tested is basic. Question 12, when a metal atom becomes an ion, when a metal atom becomes an ion, it loses electrons and is oxidized. For example, sodium. When sodium metal loses an ion, it becomes Na+, which means that it lost an electron and is now oxidized. It's no longer in the oxidation state of 0, it is now +1. Okay. Next question. Which of the following outcomes is observed when excess aqueous ammonia is added to a solution of copper 2 sulfate? The answer is the blue solution. Yes, copper 2 ions. Copper 2 plus ions are blue. Which of the following metals will react most vigorously with dilute acid? The answer is zinc. Yes, it will. Metals normally react with acid to produce a salt of the acid and hydrogen gas. Which of the following statements are true of alkanes and alkenes? 1, both alkanes and alkenes burn in air to give carbon dioxide and water. 2, alkanes undergo substitution reactions while alkenes undergo addition reactions. Alkanes are saturated hydrocarbons, while alkenes are unsaturated hydrocarbons. So statement 1 is true. Both alkanes and alkenes burn in air to give carbon dioxide and water once there is enough oxygen and complete combustion is achieved. If there isn't enough oxygen, then there will be incomplete combustion where carbon monoxide and carbon is produced instead of carbon dioxide. 2, alkanes undergo substitution reaction while alkenes undergo addition reactions. That is indeed true. Yes, so the alkanes will typically substitute one of the hydrogen molecules with a halogen molecule. That's the substitution reaction, and alkenes will normally the double bond that is in the carbon to carbon double bonds in alkenes will normally be broken, and then halogen molecules will be added on either side of the broken carbon to carbon bond that now has space to take on 2 more molecules. Alkanes are saturated hydrocarbons, while alkenes are unsaturated hydrocarbons. That is true. Alkenes are saturated hydrocarbons because they don't possess double bonds or triple bonds. Alkenes are unsaturated because they have double bonds. So the answer for number 15 is D. So that's it. I hope you guys learned a lot today, or your memory was refreshed. You can sign up for classes. Follow us on Instagram at with Tutoring. Yes. Tell your friends. And remember, guys, that chemistry is fun. It may not seem like it, but it definitely can be fun. And don't compare yourself to others. Just try to be better than you were the last time. Yes. So, hope you guys have an amazing day and see you next time. Goodbye.